hear me?
Ah, that should be back. Am I back?
Yeah, I've got your back. Don here.
Can you hear me? Ah, I'm back. Ah, I'm so glad I'm back. All right. Sure. Okay, that's good. I'm glad I'm back on there. It sounds like everybody can hear me. I was talking about self-assessment, and we have a unit commencement test. In project management, it's an online test, and we would like you to take that. It forms part of your formative assessment. We don't take that part as from the final assessment perspective, but it will help you through both your RPL, if you're going to RPL the unit, or through through your learning process. So that self-assessment is quite important, I believe. The other one is evidence gathering. You can start gathering your evidence. A lot of the evidence that you're going to gather will be evidence that we can use right across the board. So in each one of the units, we'll be able to use that evidence. So it'll be good to start gathering that evidence. However, I do know that in some cases that's not going to be possible, and that's quite fine because we are going to take that into consideration, as you'll see in a minute. The other one is that once you've gathered your evidence and you have uploaded it so that we can assess it, we will immediately give personal feedback. And the way that we will deal with that is that we'll look at each project. We call it a little project, so you'll get a mini projects that you'd have to do, and we will give you immediate feedback from there. And the way that we will do it is if the evidence is sufficient to show competency in those units, we will tell you it is sufficient evidence, and that will go to being competent for the unit. If it's insufficient evidence, or we need a little bit more training, or we need a bit more, need something more on that evidence, we will say more evidence required, and that more evidence, with the feedback obviously, will actually help you so that you can, so that we can get enough evidence to prove that you are competent in each of the criteria and for knowledge, underlying knowledge and skills. So we will provide that one. This goes for further learning. So if there isn't sufficient evidence, then we can just go around into a cycle and help you get what you need to do to provide enough evidence to show that you're competent in any of the performance areas. So that should also provide for us fundamental skills and knowledge to be able to assess you as competent in each of those units. So that's the principles of the assessment that we're going. We understand that not all of you are going to be able to give every part of this, so we do have a simulated environment. In other words, if you're not able to show all the evidence from your work-based things, we know that in some areas you cannot do it in a live environment. It's not possible to take the evidence out of the company, or it's not possible to cite it. Therefore, we'll give you a simulated environment. So that's the assessments that you will get, and we'll actually simulate that environment for you, and we'll ask you to do some case studies in that one. Assessments may be disruptive in certain conditions. Whoops. It may be disruptive to the work situation. So what we might do is simulate negotiations, simulate what it would be like with a negotiating with a client, or simulating with a stakeholder, and we will give certain case studies on that. We will do it through the web as we're doing it now. There are other ways that we can actually do it. We can have a discussion, we can collaborate, and hopefully we can continue the way that we're doing it with Connect Pro, and the way that we're actually doing it now. So that's part of the simulation environment. We're also doing some work in situations where you cannot express that competency that's required. We will require, if you're doing RPL, in certain areas, that we will ask for third-party assessment so that we can make sure that your work is obviously authentic. So that's the simulated environment that I was talking about. Let's just have a look at the evidence gathering and how we're going to do it. This is more from the learning and assessment ones, the RPL. I'll demonstrate to you when we go on in the second part of this meeting this evening, and I'll demonstrate on the learning management system. But if you were going to do the learning part of it, you will still be gathering evidence. And a combination of the following gathering techniques is what we're going to be using to ascertain your competency. All right, the first part of the quiz, that A there, is really for your own learning and for your own assessment. The questioning and the case study and the practical templates is really the part that we're going to be looking at most importantly to see if you are competent and to be able to assess you. Right now, if you'd like to go on to those, when you go in there and you have a look at the RPL questions, it gives you some idea of the kind of questions that we're going to be asking you during the learning phase as well. So those questions won't be too different. The case studies obviously are to simulate that environment, and we'd like you to use those practical templates. And those practical templates will be found under each of those areas that you need to do it. I'll give you some idea of what those templates would be and what we'll be looking at. For example, if we're doing project integration over here, it actually takes the elements 1 to 3 in the training package, and there will be some written questions, and there will be a case study. And we would want you to fill in the following templates. In other words, you should be able to fill in a project charter for us, fill in a scope statement, fill in a schedule of change control, and design a change control would be even better. Devise a schedule. We'll demonstrate one for you, but you can schedule for change request. How would change requests come? And then it'll be very nice to see how you develop a lessons learned database. How would you go about doing it? And, there's quite a few. There's a nice one that is used with Excel, but we'd like to see how you'd bring about those, or how you would develop a database of lessons learned. Obviously, the others would be also there. And you can see that we would go through, and those templates are available for each one of the assessments that you're going to be doing in each of those units. All right, so there are 9 units there. And that's basically the order that we're going to actually do the training in. But that does not mean that you don't have to gather the evidence in any order. It doesn't really matter what order you're going to gather the evidence in. But we will be going through the course in this order. So it will start with project integration, project scope, project time, project costs, project quality, human resources, project communications, project risk, and then procurement right at the end. What we will do in one of the seminars towards the end is that we will have a time where you are able to present your project, for example, both in the simulated environment or in your workplace environment, so that you can actually show us, and we will actually simulate that environment that you would be doing it. That way we can see how you would sell a project if you had to. Right, now in any of these things that we do, there's a line, and that black line is a dividing line. And in that dividing line, we can either have unsuccessful or which is negative, and it's fault finding, or we can look for a more successful way of doing things, successful by being positive and by being encouraging. So we can see that there's 2 ways to look at life. You can have a successful looking at it by finding ways and encouraging one another, And through this time is always difficult because training and investing in training is not. It's always difficult. It's going to be a bit stressful. It's going to take time, and it's going to put both you and your colleagues and all of us under some sort of pressure when we're doing this. So we need to look at things from an encouraging, a positive way. And so that is really, or we can look at it from that. But if we really look at it, whoops, I was going too far there. What we need to try and be is proactive. Project managers should be proactive in any case. And I have some stories of what happens when project managers are proactive and the kind of service it actually brings and the results and the satisfaction that it actually brings by being proactive. Or we can be reactive. That's really an unsuccessful paradigm. And it's negative and it's fault finding. So we need to try and be above the line on these things. So let's try and be encouraged by that. I encourage you to be a Winston Churchill. I've been involved in an RTO for over a year now, and I know one thing: you have to give 100%. And giving 100%, it means that you never, 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 never give up. Said that, and I've seen a lot of different cartoons about that. I always remember the duck that's swallowing the frog, and the frog has got the duck by the neck. And that frog was squeezing the duck's neck, and one of them are going to have to give up. So I encourage you to never, 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 never give up. Success is the ability to go from failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm. I don't know who said that one, but I know that these are going to be difficult times in doing this one, and especially it's a lot of extra work that's got to be done. Don't underestimate the gathering of that evidence and the presenting of that evidence. It will be a little difficult, but I encourage you to keep going, and we will certainly try and keep your enthusiasm there. And that comes really to the end of just about to the end of my presentation area. But what's very important for us here is that I'd like you to be proactive when we come into these sessions, the webinars, and always ask you, how can this work for me? When you come out of this, ask yourself, how can this work for me? And one other thing I'd like you to do before the seminar is to list the 5 things that you wish to gain from it. If you give me those 5 things before the 5 things that you want to get out of the unit, if you give me those 5 things before the thing, I'll make sure that in the time that we have, we'll cover those 5 things. So I encourage you to read through the resources that we've given you, and list the 5 things that are important to you that you wish to gain out of any of these webinars, and that will actually help us filter that information and be direct and make sure that we are covering what you require to actually get through. So make sure that you're ready to learn, to write down your bright ideas, and make sure that there is some sort of growth in each one of these areas. And I'll leave you with this: true leadership comes from influence, and you need to influence one another, and I'm counting on you to influence all of us here. So when we come to these webinars, project management is about leadership, and in certain cases they don't call you a project manager, they call you a project leader. We can have some anecdotes about that, but there's for sure that if you want to be a project manager, it's about leadership and it's about influence. And it's nothing more or nothing less. No influence, no leading. So influencing one another is a very, very important part of this. Are there any questions on this part? Before we go over to our learning management system, are there any questions on this part? No questions? Okay. You can ask. And yes, we got one there. Hello, Carlos. You've got the microphone, so you can talk. Oh, I'm not hearing you. You want to type it, Carlos? Carlos, I can't hear you at all. There we are. I still can't hear you though, Carlos. Carlos's question is, what is the certification we can apply for? It's the once we've done the diploma, you can apply for the Project Management Institute. That's an international organization, the Project Management Institute. It really looks after the project management best practices, which is called the Body of Knowledge, the Project Management Body of Knowledge. They run a certification, and you can become a PMI certified project project manager. We will have covered all 9 areas of the PMBOK area, and you should be able to apply for certification for that. So it's the PMI certification. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop sharing this one now, and we're going to go over to my computer screen, and we're going to look at going into the learning management system. Lost this. Are you still there? Somehow it has gone. Oh, I'm on twice now, and I can hear myself, which is not good. Okay. If you want to go to the site, you're welcome. You can follow me on it. It's www.training.edu.au, .net.au, or .com.au. If you go there and you select the member and log on area, you should get the members area. When you're on this area, if you log on to the participants, you will get the logon area. This is where you would put in your user ID. My one here is 09000210LC. I have a password. And this is what you would see when you come in. Each one of the unit areas will be, you will see as a course. Click on it. And we see a number of areas that we can look at. On the left-hand side, we'll be able to see who is participating at any one moment. You will see the activities, the assignments. Let me show you assignments. There are the RPL assignments, and there's 3 projects for this one. If we go into the project area, it tells you what this project is about. By using your negotiation skills, develop a scope statement in order to secure project authorization for a project you have managed, or use the template below. What we would like you to do is to upload any of the evidence that you have of the documents that you have. When you've finished uploading them, it's going to ask you whether you want. Let's just take one of those ones. I'll upload this one. Michael, you have a question? Where's Michael? Michael, you can talk? Or put in the chat at the bottom. Michael? Okay. Are you still there? Right, let me go on. You will see at the bottom, once you've loaded something, you can send for marking. Once it's sent for marking, you won't be allowed to upload anything more. That's so that we can do the assessment. If you want to load something more and you feel that there's something more or more evidence that you'd like to provide, if you email us, we will allow you to enter more before we finish marking it. If we have marked the assessment and we require more assessment, we will say to you more evidence is required, and we will we'll give you the areas that we believe that you need to show. And I see Anthony has raised his hand. Okay, Anthony, do you want to talk to us? Anthony?
Hear me okay?
Yes, we can, Anthony.
Chris, are you able to?
Oh,
Oh,
it's a
excellent.
bit.
It was just a curiosity question in relation to the uploading. I was actually having a look at that this afternoon with some RPL information trying to upload, and it limits it to a
Yes.
maximum of 2 megabytes of supporting data that you can upload. I was finding it very
I'm
difficult
going to be able to
to be
increase
limited
that.
by 2.
I'm
Okay,
going
if
to
you
be able
can,
to
because I just found that
increase
quite
that,
difficult.
but yep, you're going to find it with some of them. But that's only for each file, and I'm hoping that we can get up to about 8 megs. I just need to
When I tried it
confirm
this
with our
afternoon, it was
provider.
actually a cumulative 2 megabytes.
It shouldn't be cumulative. It's unlimited, or how many files you can. But it is a maximum size for a single size, and that is actually Apache that causes that, and how they've configured Apache from the host provider, and that's the Apache, that's the web provider. So there are other ways of loading. If your file is bigger than, you can email us, and we can put it in that area for you. Does that answer your question there? Okay. What I'm going to do now, let's go back. Cancel that one. While we're in here, the next part is the recognition of prior learning. Even if you're not doing the recognition of prior learning, I really recommend that you go through the question bank and look at what the type of questions that are required of you during your core learning. You'll see that the unit commencement task needs to come up here. It will be multiple choice. We would like you to do it as a commencement. So in other words, before you start this course, we'd like you to do that question. It does two things for it. It indicates the start of you doing this unit. It also provides for you a baseline for your learning. It also shows and indicates what you already know. So please try and do that before you do any of the assessments. The core learning will come up, and there are a number of resources that we have for here. There's the core learning resource, and later on we'll put you some recommended resource. You also have the project management book and the management, and some of you have the management Bible as well. Those that are doing the diploma of management. The assessment this is what the assessment looks like. I'm not sure that it's going to. Yeah, it doesn't show on your screen. It is a PDF document, so you can download it. It will tell you how to go about the assessment, what's required from the assessment. Underneath there, you will see the templates that you need to fill in for this unit. All right, that's the area from there. And the last part that I want to do. Now I just want to get rid of one of my I've logged in twice and I don't want to get rid of one of them. I don't seem to be able to how to get rid of the second one. All right. The last part that I'd like to do for this evening is just show the RPL process. I'm going to use the whiteboard for that, so I'm going to stop sharing this. All right. The first step in the RPL is to submit an application. That application tells us that you actually want to do RPL and which units you want to do RPL for. The second stage is that we do an interview and we look at all the evidence that you've gathered. Once we've done the interview, we actually look at all the performance criteria, the underlying knowledge, the skills that you require, and we do a mapping to all the units and to all the performance criteria. Once that is done, then we look at the areas that you don't have enough evidence for, or that you feel that you're not competent in. And during this discussion, then we look at the gap training and what areas that you need to do. That means that you can attend these workshops that we're doing, or we can have personal help in getting the right competencies, and that's where we can assist you in becoming competent in each of these units. So that is where we are now. Are there any questions? Yes, Anthony.
Whereabouts do we get the application form from you, or whereabouts
For
do
the
we get it from
RPL?
so we can do the RPL?
I'll speak to Victoria tomorrow and make sure that she sends it to you. Should have gone with your when I went out with the kit, but I'm not sure exactly what went out. So let me find out, and I'll find out for you. And if you need it, then I'll get Victoria to send it.
Well, thank you.
That goes for everybody. Anything else? Yes, we will put it in Moodle, Colin. Carlos has just said we'll put it in Moodle. Yes, and we'll upload it there so that you can just download it.
Excuse my ignorance, what is Moodle?
Moodle is our learning management system. It stands for Carlos, do you know? It's modular object-oriented learning environment. Believe it or not, it's open source, so it's kind of code that's in the open environment. It's developed by the project, actually led by someone in Western Australia, and it's used in thousands of educational institutions. But what I showed you in the second half, that learning environment is called Moodle. Carlos has given it to me. It stands for Modular Object-Oriented Dynamic Learning Environment. Are there any other questions? Well, if there are no more questions, I'm going to say thank you very much for attending. If there are any things that can help us improve this, I'd really like you to email us and just tell us. If there's anything that can help you, we'd like to do that. If something didn't work too well today, please let's try and get it right before next week. And that would be great. And I see Anthony's got another question.
Yes,
Yes,
Chris,
Anthony?
just inquiring, with the recording that you're doing this evening, does that get uploaded onto the web for us to be able to download a copy of this?
Yes. I'll look at whether it's this one or the previous earlier one, and we'll see which one is better. But we'll load one of the two up.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Is there anything else? All right. Pack next Monday. Good. Yes. Yes, you will, Warren. Definitely. So Warren's asked if he can get us pack. We'll definitely get us pack before next one. Anybody else? Some of you might need a user ID and log on. There's a couple of you that haven't that seem that you haven't got it yet. All the rest I will be. There is a news area which I didn't show you on the Moodle on the learning system. So when you come into it, you'll see the news and anything that we need. So go in there on a regular basis, and if there's any notifications or things that you want, and any news that we have, we'll have that. If I can get some help, then we can actually make an RSS feed for that, so it'll put it into your area and your email. All right then, thank you very much, and then we'll end this evening. Good night.